You know, you mentioned in the beginning of, I believe it was in the beginning of your most recently released book, Destiny's Child, The Untold Story. With the 2019 release of his book, Destiny's Child, The Untold Story, Dr. Knowles released a companion album called Destiny's Child, The Untold Story Presents Girls Time, featuring 15 tracks of never-before-heard recordings from the beginning of Destiny's Child when they were known as Girls Time. You mentioned how you and Miss Tina had come out of poverty, essentially, right? And I'm interested in knowing with this picture, because we're going to come back to your father's charitable acts in just a moment, but I'm interested in knowing what was your journey coming from the young man who experienced growing up in that condition of poverty, right? But still with plenty of promise, because you constantly saw your parents working, constantly making a way out of no way.
And I never knew I was poor. I never knew I was poor until I became an adult. And I look back and I was like, we were poor as hell. But I never knew that.
Okay.
When it came Christmas, I got the new line bicycle. I got the new gas BB gun. I got the racing car kit the first years they came out. I never knew I was poor.
Did you know that through seeing the way other people lived and their experiences? How did you end up finding out or realizing that you were poor?
Oh, when I was in my 20s.
Okay.
When I became an adult.
Yeah, and when you started making your own.
Yeah, we're talking the 20s.
Okay.
And you kind of look back and you see, wow, I didn't know. So it was much later in life.
Now, when you were in your, let's go like to your teens, were you required, many of the people I interview, they were at some point in their early teens required to get a job?
Absolutely.
Was that
wasn't required
really?
to get a job. I wanted to get a job. So my first company was in the 3rd grade.
Tell me
I was
about
in
it.
Catholic school, and I came up with this idea that I would sell candy.
Okay.
I had $1, and there was a store 3 blocks, now that I think about it, 3 blocks from the school that I would pass by because I used to catch the bus because we lived in East Gaston and this was in Gaston. And I would catch the bus and I would pass the store and I would go and buy candy. Now, I never told my mother this, but I would buy $1 worth of candy and then I would sell it and I would make $3. And then finally I made my first $10 and I went to the store owner and I said, look, I need to get more than you normally when I have $1. He said, how do you know that, young man? I said, it just makes sense. Now I'm spending $10. He laughed, he says, you're gonna do well one day. But the nuns found out about 2 months later.
And they shut you down.
And shut me down, and I had to write on the board 100 times. You know the drill of that. But that was my first, I call it my first company.